is because theoretically, this is just like when we talked about the properties of exponents, okay? It's the exact same thing. The only difference now is that there are fractions as exponents, okay?
Yes.
Y'all ready? I see some of you without your notebooks out. When we talk about function operations, what we're going to do is define some functions. Remember, this just means f of x. Okay, it just is the same thing as y. It's defining it as a function. One output for every input. All right. F of x is, let's say, 2x to the 1/2 plus 3x to the 2/3. Now, this is not a polynomial, and we did polynomial operations. Remember? It's not, however, a polynomial because polynomials can't have fractions as exponents, all right? So what we'll do is we'll define a couple of functions. This just really... Y'all hear that?
Yeah, it's not from over here though.
It's a
Two functions here that are defined, okay? And anytime I have two functions defined, it's just a way of calling it up to say, if I want to reference g of x, I can just say g of x instead of saying 5x to the 1/2 minus 7x. It just gives it a name, okay? Now, I said operations like multiplication, division, and, actually multiplication, addition, and subtraction. We're not going to do division quite yet. Darian, that's not appropriate. Take that off.
Oh, he just looks fly.
First, when we add things together, if I wanted to do f of x plus g of x. So when I add, I've got 2x to the 1/2.
You put those in parentheses before you.
You can if you want to. Plus
5x half.
I write too slow for me to be looking up and down while you talking.
it's okay, I'll give you a second to copy it, then we'll talk. So what happens when we're adding is we can only add certain ones. Which ones can we add?
2x half plus 5x half.
What are those called? This,
Like
term.
I'm only combining like terms. So let's take just a second to talk about what it means to be like terms and then how we combine them.
You got the same base or the same exponent. Or.
And.
No. They don't have the same base.
X is the base.
Oh, so the whole number.
The number in front is the coefficient.
Okay.
Okay. So this is base.
okay.
Exponent. No, it's not meant to hurt your feelings. Coefficient. And so we said like terms means it has the same base and same exponent.
Yeah.
If this occurs, if we have the same base and the same exponent, how do I combine like terms?
Add the coefficients.
I combine the coefficients.
And just bring the numbers, bring the base and the exponent down.
Exactly. I only combine the coefficients. All right, so this is important.
So it should be 7x.
So, because I'm adding, it's 2x to the 1/2 plus 5x to the 1/2, which is
7x to the 1/2.
7x to the 1/2.
Some of them will shit.
Okay. How about the 3x to the 2/3?
You bring it down.
You bring it, exactly. There's not another one. If there's not anything to combine it with, you leave it.
I got a question. You used to say,
And the minus 7x.
no. You used to say you gotta bring it in order, remember? Like,
These don't have quite the same order because they're power functions. They're not polynomials. They have fraction exponents in them.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Hey, so Miss McGee.
Yeah. Let's reference these same two. F of x is, somebody call it out to me because I'm on another page.
2x
One
half square exponent
Plus 3x
to the third exponent
To the third?
5.
Whoa,
No, 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 no,
whoa,
no,
whoa.
no, 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 no,
Two
no.
to the third right there on the exponent. They were right.
Who was right? What you talking about?
What's f of x?
It is 2x to the
2x.
half.
Plus 3x to the 2/3.
I gave her my book, sweetheart. You can shut up.
And then g of x is 5x to the 1/2 minus 7x. Thank you. All right. Let's change this around a little bit to look at subtraction because it's really the same thing. Several of you said, isn't that the same thing? And it is.
Why are you saying it the same thing as addition? All you gotta do is flip the sign.
Exactly. This time, let's do g of x minus f of x. Okay.
So
The trick here is I'm subtracting everything in f of x. So somebody asked about a parenthesis earlier. It might be a good idea to get in the habit of putting the parentheses there so you realize that you're subtracting the whole thing.
Wait a minute, player.
Okay. Can I write the equation down? Not doing it.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am, player.
You can try.
G of x minus, and Dwight said earlier this looks like what we've already done, and it absolutely is. The only difference is,
Same change.
yep, the only difference is if you notice these exponents look a
You
little
gotta
different.
change everything behind it.
Make it a plus.
I'm gonna write that here so you know. When you look back at,
Change everything.
oh, same, change,
You don't.
change everything. Everything that's in parentheses that follows the subtraction.
No,
we
but
got-
that's follow behind the subtraction.
That follows the subtraction, right.
Behind the subtraction. You
That's
gotta
what
say it.
follows
Say,
means.
say
Yeah.
behind the subtraction, so I can get it.
Are we
Behind the subtraction.
Are we gonna take this on to the first?
No, we keep, all right, so we keep that one, so it's gonna be same, change. Change everything in here. Now I got an addition problem again, so I'm just combining like terms. All right?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
That's 3x, 3x and a half, and minus 7 minus.
The only like terms I have are the ones that have that power of 1/2.
Now, if we're multiplying,
We're gonna get to multiply. And then I'm just gonna rewrite the other terms that are here. Shh, shh. Carry on.
7's not next.
Again, I'm not doing a whole lot. Okay, go ahead. I'm not doing a whole lot of examples of the addition and subtraction unless you need me to, because those are kind of just combining like terms. I will do a recap at the end of addition, subtraction versus multiplication because it starts to get confusing.
not if you said
Tell me when you got it. More.
We got
Do multiplication. Multiplication. No, I did not. This time I'm gonna make some new F and G's. Let's say f of x is 5x to the 1/3. And let's say g of x is
this hard part.
negative 11x to the 1/3 plus 2x to the 1/2.
okay, boom. What we're gonna do
Right?
is you're gonna
No, this is not the hard part yet. But
multiply.
when we're multiplying, remember, we're talking about distributing.
I mean, you can combine it into one problem first, can't you? Though?
Okay. I haven't told you what to do yet. I'm just saying when we multiply, we're talking about distributing, and we're talking about when you multiply terms together. How to multiply terms.
You have to do
Okay.
one term by itself. Huh?
In other words, if I wanted to do 2x to the 1/2 times 3x to the 1/4. How do you do that? What do you do?
Combine your rights.
I'm multiplying this time, Kevin.
You get the same base.
What'd you say? How? Combine my exponents how? By adding them. And actually, let's make this, I'm going to change this a little bit. I know y'all hate that, but I'm sorry.
What are you doing?
Let's change it to 2x to the 2nd times 3x to the 4th. So we do it with whole numbers first, so you see. If you were multiplying those two things, Kevin said you combine your exponents, and he's absolutely right, but I also have to do something else. You gotta times your, not bases, but coefficients. So to multiply terms, I multiply
2 times 3 equals 6.
coefficients and add exponents, right? So that would be 6x to the, you're right, 6. Okay?
Wait a minute.
Okay. Let's multiply these two. Let's say we want to do f of x times g of x.
Alright, boom, so you do the same thing, you feel me?
Okay.
You add your fractions and multiply your coefficients on the fractions too. So it's gonna be negative 50.
But look, I have to distribute.
Nah, you said you don't gotta do that, you feel me? Where's my mother?
So look, this is where it gets tricky, okay, because I have fractions. So remember that fraction button on your calculator? It's your best friend.
That's my best friend. That's my best friend.
So multiply the coefficients. 5 times negative 11 is,
Negative 55.
and now I have to add a third and a third, and that one's easy to add, 2/3. And then I go to the next one. 5 times 2 is 10. Now I have to add 1/3 plus 1/2.
To the 5 out of 6. 5 out of 6. Why did you say 2?
I'm just writing this stuff down and it's like,
What's a third plus a half?
5, 6.
You don't have to put 2 different steps there. You can do it all in one step if you want.
See, boom, you have to get the right denominator for you to add or subtract.
So you multiply.
Right, so,
Yeah, you find the closest number from that. 2 times 3 is 6 and 3 times 2 is 6.
yeah, look, if you didn't do it on your calculator, then 1/3 plus 1/2 times 3, you got to get common denominators, times 2. So that'd be 2/6 plus 3/6, which is,
Oh, okay.
Why do you multiply?
this is where you'll start to get confused. If you are adding or subtracting, remember they must be like terms, which is same base, same exponent. And when that's the case, you combine the coefficients, you leave the variable and exponent. Okay, so take a step back as you're doing this and go, wait, am I adding and subtracting or am I multiplying? Okay, because when you multiply, and I know you already have this written down somewhere else in your notes from a little bit ago, but it's important enough to have its own little section here. When you multiply coefficients.
That are the same.
I thought you said you add the exponents.
And you add the exponents.
No brain.
All right, composition is the harder of the operations we've talked about, so make sure you pay attention.
What are you doing? Fix it before you go out.
Why does it keep doing this?
No, that's your little boy doing voodoo on you for letting his dad beat you.
All right, shh. This is a very visual kind of thing. If I tell you f of x equals 2x minus 7, and then I said, okay, what is f of 3? What does that mean?
That means you put 3 where your x is.
X is 3.
No, you put 3 where your F is.
No.
X
Say it again,
is
Mr.
3. What that number say?
Yeah, I ain't gonna put you in the dummies.
All right, look. Whatever's in parentheses here replaces your x's, okay? So where there was an x, I'm going to put a 3.
Right there. Because that's okay.
That's your
Okay.
answer too, though.
So it would be 6 minus 7, which is -1.
But so that doesn't work.
What doesn't work?
You got your f of x.
No. What do you mean? No. Listen. Shh. The point, I really want you to visually see before I teach you composition that whatever is in those parentheses is completely replacing the x. If you could physically take the x out, whatever's in parentheses would take its place.
I got a question.
Okay, so every single time you see X in that problem, you just replace it with a
Correct, for that particular problem. Yes.
Yeah, you just replace it with
So if I see a problem like this, it's automatically it's 3.
If I say what is f of 3?
So it's not gonna be like this. And then we got to
All right, listen, guys.
So you can say F4.
In the beginning, your functions will be defined. I will say if f of x is 2x minus 7 and g of x is x squared plus 4, what is f of 3? Okay? No. Negative 1.
Wait, Miss Vicky, is there ever going to be a problem when it says F of 3 and then G of like of 2?
Yeah, we're fixing. That's why we're getting to that point. Just hold your.
Wait, but would you add them together after you get your answer? Like, you know how you got that negative
Yes.
1 there? And you
Yes.
add them?
Now, if you rewind back to the first week or two of this class, we did this. We spent a while, it was on your first review test, on function notation and how whatever's in parentheses is what goes in for the x, okay? So what if I asked you, what is f of k?
Then you replace x with k.
Then f of k equals what?
2
2k
k plus minus 7.
minus 7.
That's your answer.
Okay. What if I asked you what is f of Leroy?
Leroy.
2 Leroy minus 7.
2 times Leroy minus. I'm trying to get. I mean, I'm being funny, but I'm trying to get to a point of it doesn't matter what's in the parentheses. That's what goes in for the x.
So again, 2 times Leroy minus 7 equals.
It's not that it equals anything.
Because you can't combine those at all.
That's right.
Basically, just like we used to do in like algebra 1, which is x equals this, and you plug in the problem.
Because if you want to be technical about it, it'd be 2 times Leroy equals more money for a jack.
How about if I asked you f of x plus
Plug
1?
in f
So
of
you
x
do
plus 1.
2x plus 1.
2
So you got 2x and
x
2.
plus 1 minus 7.
What?
You
Wait.
distribute the 2 to the x and the
Absolutely, yes.
And where you get the 7 and 2 from, big dog?
Look up at the original problem. I defined f of x before I started.
Man, you getting me confused already.
Let's say I asked you what is g of f of x.
What?
Okay, so you do x to the second plus 4 and 2x minus 7. You combine them.
What am I? All right, so look.
You have negative
I
7
replace all the x's in f. That's already there. So this time all the x's in g are getting replaced with f of x. Do you agree with that?
Question.
No.
Is your x squared? No. What is that?
Look. What is g? G is x squared plus 4.
Oh, f of x.
Everywhere.
That's 3 x's there. You
Look.
x to the 2 and x right there.
Huh?
You want to be x to the third?
No, where are you getting third?
You said f of x equals f of x. So you put the x inside.
So everywhere there's an x in g, I replace it with f of x.
Huh?
Say that again?
You're basically taking the f of x problem and putting it into the other problem.
So maybe you see it a little better like this.
Oh. Yeah, I just looked at them together. So shouldn't you put 2x minus 7 there?
Yes.
Oh.
So you just put it to the second because
Correct.
it's 1.
What if
Question
we
number.
didn't put the answer
How would you
on
solve
that? Like if you got the answer.
What about it?
Like, say we just did 3 and we got -1. Wouldn't you just put a negative on?
What happened?
But you're going to keep, this one's going to have an x in it because the variable never goes away. It's going to keep the x. This is what we call composition. But we haven't finished it. We haven't expanded it, guys.
Distribute, so.
Yes, but you can't distribute this. All right, so let me finish writing this out for you. Plugging one function into another. If you can remember that whatever's in parentheses, I literally take out and replace with something, it's going to help you, okay? Literally, pull it out and put whatever's there in. Now, I haven't finished this one because somebody said, would you distribute? Well, you wouldn't really distribute.
So.
You would have to
2x squared.
FOIL it.
What are you doing?
He's boiling it to the second power.
It's to the second power, and there's a subtraction in the middle, which means I can't distribute that exponent.
So 4x to the squared.
So, 4x squared.
14x. Negative 14x. See that?
Minus 14x. Minus 14x. Plus 49. These will get long.
Combined.
Okay.
Would always be the second.
It could be to the third or to the fourth.
So 4x squared plus negative 28x squared.
Not squared. Remember when you're adding or, yep, plus
53. That's right.
Let's take these same two. Let's see.
Numbers.
That would be lovely.
Yeah, that's not you confused. You doing the same number.
You want different F of G's?
Yes.
Okay.
If you want the fraction.
You know it's gonna be
Let's let F of X be 3x minus 8. Let's let G of X
2x minus 2.
be 2x squared. First off, tell me what is...
You didn't really give us a real second right now.
Okay, right
Are
now.
you doing G or are you gonna do?
You like a roller coaster.
Or is it gonna be G, F of X, or F of X?
Go ahead.
We don't move on this.
Find first for me, find F of 5.
7.
Don't blurt it out.
Is it 3 minus 5? That's what you need.
This is the problem. I'm giving you this to start with, these two. And now I'm asking you, what is F of 5?
You put 5 where x is.
Well, F of 5 is
15 minus 8 equals 7. According to my calculations. Thanks.
Does everyone agree with that?
Nope.
Okay, if you don't, why?
Because I ain't finished writing down the problem yet.
All right. How about if I asked you, what is G of negative 3?
Correct, sir.
Are you sure?
Actually,
Yeah, you sure?
9 times 2,
it'll be 18.
Yes.
18. So why can't you combine them first?
Why can't you?
Because we're not like.
No, that doesn't have anything to do with it.
No, parentheses.
But that, so 2 wasn't a
Adam said it.
Order of operations.
Order of operations. Exponents definitely come before multiplication, so you gotta square the negative 3 first.
I can't see that.
Not in please choose my DRX Ellie.
It's done.
I don't think about time right.
Got it. All right, let's kick it up then.
Gotta go.
To my nigga from my
Let's do F of G of X. Okay. Now, I always tell everybody it's easier if you work from the inside out. So, in other words, it may be easier for you if you look at G of X and say, okay, well, I know what G of X is. What is it?
2x squared.
2x squared.
Yeah, ain't no way this is all we have to do. This is like, this is what we should, this is what we
And you said it was hard, but
This
it's
is
not.
so easy, this is
It's gonna get worse.
We haven't composed it yet.
So you're bull crap. You're
All right.
saying
So now, tell me what is f of 2x squared?
it's gonna be 3x and 2x squared.
3. All right, everybody watch. I'm taking this equation. I'm replacing this x with this.
What? So parentheses 2x.
What's going on?
2x squared minus 8.
Yeah, distribute. No, you distribute just
You
all.
can't distribute k because that negative 8.
Yes, you can. Yep.
The 3 is only going with the x, guys. So it's 6x squared
Minus 8.
minus 8.
According to my calculations, proving my doctorate, Einstein. Alright, bro. I'm gonna talk to you no more, bro. I'm going to 225.
Let's say I asked you to find f of x.
You plug in the problem.
You're plugging it into itself. Okay, DeAndre, watch.
Okay, I'm watching.
What is f of x?
5
No, what's
3x
3x minus 8?
So 3
Back here at the beginning.
parentheses 3x minus 8 minus 8.
I gotta
Yes.
ask you this question.
Yes.
The F?
Yes, sweetheart. You have that. You should be there.
I don't have it.
3 times 3x minus 8 minus 8. Now this one is a matter of distributing.
You distribute. Whoa, hold on, look at the other second.
Wait, where'd you get the 3 in front?
You're missing a square.
All right, look at the original. Look at the original f. The original f is 3x minus 8. 3x minus 8.
Why is it 3x?
Because it literally, whatever is in this parentheses here, gets plugged in for the x. So the original equation was 3x minus 8. So we replaced that x with what was in parentheses.
So we can't do divide by 9? Oh, never mind, I see that 8.
Okay. So I got 9x minus 32. All right. Let's see if you do understand. Let's do now. This will be what, 5?
Jesus Christ, why are there so many?
G of f of 5.
So you have to do all this? Is it just gonna ask you like,
Oh, boom.
It will define, yes, each of these, the heading above a set of problems will define the
So you
functions.
solve this first and then put that down.
Yes.
So we'll
I
get
did it
like,
already.
so basically we'll just get that and then
Tyler, what you doing?
like,
What you
okay, so
doing?
we'll get like a set of
What
problems like
EAG?
that and then
What's
they'll
Christian
give us
again?
questions.
Correct. They'll give you they'll define your functions first and then start asking you to manipulate those functions. Remember, if you work inside out, it will help you. In other words, what is f of 5?
Yep.
So you have to plug in
Five.
it's 8 or 7.
We've already done that one right. It's 3 times 5 minus 8, which is 15 minus
You're
8.
going too fast right now.
This is number 1 on this list of problems. We've already done it.
Well, I'm doing
Okay,
whatever
that's
you
fine.
do.
I got it.
Trying to get me caught up.
So this is now going to become
Half of that.
g of 7 because f of 5 is 7.
That's what I was saying the whole time, Miss McGee. Okay, that makes sense.
Wait, why
Se-
G7?
I replaced what in parentheses. I solved the parentheses first, and then what I got, I'm plugging into the outside.
So it's like
Wait, hold on a minute.
100 and something.
It makes sense.
2 times 49.
Solve that equation. Solve it.
That's what I'm saying. Thanks, Rector.
Yes. Something with me for just a minute.
Oh my.
I'm going to redefine my G and F.
Oh dear.
Remember what happens when I have a negative exponent? What does that mean?
You have to flip it.
It flips, okay? So looking at this one, What happens if I asked you to find f of g of x?
Can I write the problem? I just want to
On
write
your
at the
paper.
form.
G of x is what? Is anybody confused on that stuff?
No, Miss Mimi.
So now I take f. I've got 4. It's not x anymore. What is it?
Five x minus 2.
5x minus 2, and it's got a negative 1 exponent. Understand what this does. That negative 1 exponent is going to those parentheses. Okay? So this becomes 4 over, this one's moving down because it's got a negative exponent. 5x minus 2, and it becomes a positive exponent.
And that's the end of it,
That's the end of it.
because you can't do anything.
Can't do anything else.
You.
I thought you could just.
You exponents come first, so you can't distribute first because first you have to handle the exponent. All right, let me give you your stuff.